I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but the field of electric unicycle is actually going through a whole lot of changes. There is the new batch of suspension-equipped EUCs, including the KingSong S18, the inmotion V11, and the yet-to-be-announced supposedly 20-inch Gotway suspension wheel that is coming in the next month or two. And on the other side, we have expert rider and wheel designer who felt that the addition of suspension system unnecessarily compromises wheel ride control, as well as complicates the otherwise elegant simplicity of the electric unicycle platform. And that is no mere argument tucked away deep in the recess of some obscure EUC forum online. People have gotten serious enough where they founded a brand new company. Veteran is called. So new I wasn't even able to find a logo for this company. And in this crowded field, Gotway announced something absolutely outrageous. The Monster Pro. And this is no mere simple refresh, but a completely redesigned, a 24-inch and get this 4,000 watt motor beast of a wheel. Despite this being everything I've ever asked for in my Monster, I'm gonna tell you why I think that this wheel may very well make or break Gotway. Are you ready? Roll the intro.
I'm super fly, super duper fly, super duper fly, super duper fly. Me, I'm super fly, super duper fly, super duper fly, super fly.
As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and stay till the end for a preview of what's coming up next.
Me, I'm super fly, super duper fly, super duper fly.
If you're new to electric unicycle, Gotway is probably just another wheel manufacturer to you, and there was a time when I thought little of the speed differential between my Z10 at 28 miles per hour and the MSX, which top out at 38-40 at the time. After all, coming from the motorcycle world where everything short of 65 is thought of as being painfully slow, a differential of 10 miles per hour didn't seem like a big deal.
But what I have learned over time were that those small speed differences represent something much more fundamental, a philosophical understanding of the base nature of an electric unicycle, wherein companies like KingSong and inmotion strictly limit the top speed of their wheel regardless of technological capabilities. Gotway was willing to let their rider push for the very edge of performance capability on all their electric unicycle. And the unspoken understanding had always been that Gotway was the one company that understood and believed in the limitless potential for speed for the electric unicycle platform. And that they were also the one company that would continue to pursue the quest for ever greater speed when it comes to their wheels.
Unspoken, since that was the other hallmark of Gotway. Very little is ever communicated to its customer base. Wheel releases typically consist of basic battery and a motor specification accompanied by early rough renderings of what the wheel will look like. Performance capability such as range and top speed is never disclosed, whether it's because of the fear of liabilities given their buyer's propensity to test the top speed by pushing the wheel until they cut out and crashing, or simply because, oh, maybe, I don't know, laziness. No one knows. Over the past few years, the other two EUC manufacturers, inmotion and KingSong, have both stepped up their marketing effort. There were the multiple interviews Charles Kai from inmotion gave in association with the V11 launch, and for KingSong, they had the awesome video review from Kuji, whom I believe provided feedback during the development cycle of the S18 wheel. But Gotway has stubbornly refused to change.
And their fan was fine with that for as long as Gotway upheld their portion of the unspoken agreement of releasing ever faster wheels. And as long as that is the case, we're willing to jump through whatever hoop it takes because, and here is the key, there are no other alternative when it comes to fast wheels.
If you want a wheel that is faster than 31 miles per hour, you buy Gotway, and that's that. But I believe that loyalty actually has nothing to do with it. If anything, a Gotway rider will be the first to tell you of the many issues their wheels often encounters. Poor quality controls, weatherproofing, and a weak and easily damaged shell. My own gripes are that their design is generally dated and not particularly attractive. Kind of remind me of a soggy pizza box. The M Super remained mostly unchanged from 2015, and even my own Monster, which I had grown to love over the past year, on its appearances, the most I can say is that it is generally unoffensive. Instead, I believe the loyalty of the Gotway rider lies first with performances. They will buy the fastest wheel on the market regardless of who it's from, and now for the first time, we may finally have an alternative. Veteran, so named since it was formed by a core group of OG employees coming straight out of Gotway, and according to an article from EcoDrift, they left out of a desire to push EUC development down its traditional path rather than bend to the will of the marketer, who are obviously hot on suspension tech right now.
Which echoes the sentiment of some of Gotway's most hardcore fan base, who have expressed disappointment over the release of the Gotway MSP, the very first Gotway wheel that is actually slower than its predecessor.
For the first time, we wondered if Gotway had broken our unspoken agreement, and perhaps it is time to move on.
And that is what makes these two recent wheel releases particularly significant. First, the Veteran Sherman, which is a 20-inch electric unicycle that must prove that this new EUC startup is just as capable of producing high quality and, more importantly, high performance wheel as Gotway. And the Monster Pro, the absolutely insane wheel announcement from Gotway, must prove that the reigning king of speed wheels still got it where it counts.
Despite its radical styling, the Veteran Sherman appears to carry on the legacy of the M Super line of wheels with an upgraded 2500 watt-hour motor, but unlike the MSP, it has a claimed top speed of 50 miles per hour, so it is even faster than the MSX 100 volt. It also carries a huge 3200 watt-hour battery pack with the 18540 cell, preferred by some over the newer 21700 cell due to their known stabilities. Finally, all of that fitted with a new robust looking case and a steel tubular framing for better crash protection. In other words, this wheel is everything the hardcore M Super rider had been asking for over the years.
So I was not at all surprised when I heard that the Veteran Sherman completely sold out of their very first batch of production wheels, and Gotway is certainly feeling the heat. As a matter of fact, it is my personal belief that the main reason why Gotway is even releasing the Monster Pro is so that they can crush Veteran where they stand, lest they become a serious competition in the future.
And Gotway pull out all the stop, as the specification for the Monster Pro is nothing short of mind-blowing. A 24-inch diameter wheel with a 4,000 watt motor and 3,600 watt-hour battery pack. With a price tag rumored to be north of $3,000, it will cost almost as much as the most expensive wheels from both KingSong and inmotion combined. And what kind of performance can we expect out of this staggering specification and price tag? We don't really know. Again, Gotway never released any performance information prior to sending out their demos, and the only way for us to know how fast this wheel will actually go is to test it for ourselves. I do have to say that I'm equally frustrated by the lack of information from Gotway about their coming product. It's one thing for Apple to be mysterious and secretive about the next iPhone, but Gotway is not exactly Apple. Given their unfortunate history of problematic wheel launch, the lack of information no longer feels intentional rather than tone deaf to their customer base. And the question of top speed had never been more relevant for any other wheel than the Monster Pro. Regardless how you feel about what is a reasonable safe speed to ride at, the one differentiator for Gotway had always been that their wheel is faster.
But I have seriously begun to wonder if Gotway themselves is actually aware of this fact.
The MSP wasn't actually the only Gotway wheel that had gone slower. The Monster V3 had a slower top speed than the V2 despite having the same motor. On top of that, I had always been puzzled by Gotway's refusal to raise their tiltback speed above 30 miles per hour. So is the fact that an MSX could be pushed to 45 miles per hour really a feature, or is it a bug to Gotway? Keep in mind that this is a relevant question even if you were to never ride anywhere close to top speed, since all that represents is a power output ceiling, at which point the wheel would cut out and crash. And it's not strictly tied to speed.
Now if I were to carry a 50-pound backpack while going off a steep hill, which is actually exactly what I'm doing right now, and if there happened to be a steep headwind and I hit a bump on top of that, now all of that combined means that I'm going to be getting awfully close to the limitation on the output of my monster, despite the fact that I was nowhere close to the maximum speed that it's capable of.
On an electric unicycle, that top speed represents the headroom or safety margin you have. And even if I were to ride no faster than the max speed on any KingSong inmotion wheel, I appreciated that there is a larger margin for unexpected conditions and emergency maneuvers.
But more than that, I will argue that speed was the branding for Gotway. With zero marketing, the one consisting over the years had always been that Gotway wheels were fast. If you want to buy a wheel that is capable of more than 31 miles per hour, you buy Gotway. That's what you do. That may no longer be the case in the future, for according to the rumors I'm hearing, that the Gotway Monster Pro, like the MSP, will also be significantly slower than its predecessor.
What is Gotway without speed? Will people continue to buy Gotway if their wheels are now no faster than any other brand? And that is not a hypothetical question, as Charles Kai, the CEO of InMotion, in a recent interview acknowledged the desire from their ridership for greater speed, and as a result had upped the maximum speed of their new suspension-equipped V11 to 35 miles per hour, so it's now just as fast as the Gotway MSP. Of course, there is Veteran. If they can prove that the Sherman is the spiritual successor of the MSX, which is Gotway's most popular wheel, and that they can build it better, more reliable, and most importantly, faster, then would people continue to stick with Gotway?
And yes, all of this predicated on that the rumor is true. And believe me, as a fan of the Gotway Monster, there's no one else who like it not to be the case than me. As a matter of fact, what that stat line implies was exactly what I have been asking for the whole time I've been riding my own monster. Much greater torque and acceleration.
I am by no means a fast rider. I have never exceeded 40 miles per hour and usually cruise in the low 30s, but having ridden enough with the speed demons here in New York City, I understood the allure of speed, the sense of excitement and exhilaration. I remember thinking on my ride home after watching an Iron Man movie that this must be what it felt like to have a flying suit. And that had been Gotway. So the question remained, how fast would the Gotway Monster Pro go? As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and if you'd like to support my work, check out the link to my Patreon page in the video description below. And finally, as much as we all love electric unicycle, the only way for us to get better wheels is to grow as a community. So tell your friends and teach them how to ride and get them hooked. And until next week, thank you.
And I'm doing it and 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 doing it well.
Next week, I find out if the Veteran Sherman is the real deal and if it's indeed the fastest EUC ever.